And that kind of leads me into part 2 of my rant, and that's about Spencer Petras, okay? I stated very publicly last year, before the Iowa-Illinois game last year, I had said that I thought Iowa would do well to try their hand at a different quarterback, just to see what Deuce Hogan or Alex Padilla can do in a game. I haven't said that since then, okay? If I feel the need to say it again, I will. But right now, Spencer's winning games. He played well on Saturday. Okay, he's got 1 interception on the season. And look, I'm not asking everybody to be the biggest Spencer Petras fan in the world, all right? But here's what I would encourage you to do. If you're one of those people who thinks that Spencer Petras needs to be benched, or you're one of those guys who goes on Twitter or goes on YouTube or goes on Facebook or wherever you're at and trash Spencer, or you trash the coaching staff for not trying someone else, or maybe you're very respectful about it and you say, hey, this quarterback's not going to get it done. Here's what I would encourage you to do. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Maybe you are right. I mean, we don't know, right? I mean, the coaches we assume know, or they think they know, but nobody really knows, right? Because we haven't seen Deuce Hogan or Alex Padilla in a game. But here's what I would encourage you to do. Think back to 2018. Iowa State in Kinnick. Okay? Nate Stanley, Iowa struggled all day long. Nate Stanley didn't do much of anything. At halftime, I remember a ton of fans on social media calling for Nate to be benched. For probably Peyton Manziel at the time. But 2019, probably would have been Spencer, right? Were you in that crowd that was calling for for Nate Stanley to be benched? Think back to CJ Beathard. Were you ever calling for CJ to be benched in 2016? Now, I get it if you did that in the bowl game because CJ was banged up in that game. I probably would have benched CJ just for a health standpoint. But at any point in CJ's career, did you ever call for him to be benched? What about Jake Rudock? Were you one of the ones calling for CJ to come in for Jake? What about James Vandenberg? Were you one of the ones calling for Jake Rudock to come in for Vandenberg? What about Stanzi for, Vandenberg for Stanzi? We go back every single quarterback cycle, and there's always a segment of the fan base calling for that quarterback to be benched. Now, you could say, well, it's because we never have a great quarterback. Okay, if we never had a great quarterback, the ones on the bench aren't going to be any better, right? Unless you're saying that every guy on the bench, unless you're saying that guys are on the bench are just never getting an opportunity to shine in a game. I mean, I don't even know how to go down that rabbit hole. What I'll say is if you are one of the ones calling for Spencer to be benched right now, or you have been this season, just think back and think, did I call for Stanley to be benched? Did I call for Vandenberg to be benched? Did I call for Beathard to be benched? Rudock to be benched? Stanzi to be benched? Christensen to be benched? Tate to be benched? Banks to be benched? I don't know. I mean, go think back to the beginning of your fandom. And if you find a trend of consistently calling for Iowa quarterbacks to be benched, and you have to be honest with yourself on this, right? Because I don't know what alias, I don't know who you are behind an alias of a Twitter name or YouTube handle. Be honest with yourself and think, have I in the past consistently called for Iowa's starting quarterbacks to be benched? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you might be the problem. Okay? You might be the problem. End of rant.